The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have a fantastic episode that I cannot wait to do. But first and foremost, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming products at an affordable price. Products are made right in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of their supplies are from other Ohio-based companies. You can find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at buddysbeardcare.com. Use the promo code BONO15 and he will save you 15%. I have been using these products for a couple of months, almost half a year now. They are phenomenal. My beard has never felt softer. According to my wife, it has never grown faster, and it has never felt healthier to me. These are phenomenal products, oils, the face wash, and the beard balm to keep it all in check. Everything works out fine and great. I love it. Buddy'sBeardCare.com, promo code BONO15. Also, it is brought to you by former guest and big supporter of the show, Matt Landowski and Sweet Hands Sports. Elevate your game with Sweet Hands Sports. Our sports gloves are designed for champions, providing ultimate grip and durability. Achieve greatness with every match. Choose Sweet Hands Sports for the winning edge. Grip your victory at sweethandsports.com. Use the promo code BONO10 and he will save you 10%. He is not just batting gloves anymore. He does have a golf glove line now. He sent me a complimentary pair of golf gloves. They are phenomenal. They're super comfortable, super breathable. Nothing helps my golf game. I'm a terrible golfer. I just go out to be on the course. Check them out again, sweethandsports.com. Also, lastly, it is brought to you by Deemed Fit. Deemed Fit is a clothing apparel company for first responders by first responders. All proceeds go to helping first responders, especially those who worked during COVID. This is a phenomenal company. I love their slogan. I love that they're helping veterans and first responders. Go to deemedfit.co. Use the promo code Mike Bono, and you will save 20%. That being said, this episode, like I said, I've been super excited to record this show here and do this. We're going to be talking to the dog lovers out there, and we were talking about all things with our furry friends. I have a great panel of guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Guys, you've been on before, but I need your name and the answer to these two questions. And it is, if you could be any animal that is not a dog, which animal would you be? And what is your go-to radio station you listen to on Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc., etc.? And Andrea, we're going to start with you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me back. My name is Andrea. If I could be any animal, I'm like guilty of having a new favorite animal every week. So right now I want to say I'd be a penguin just because it's about to get cold out and they like slide around and they're cute. And my go-to playlist is today's hits. I like to discover all new music. So
Nice. Penguin is a solid choice. Penguin is definitely, that isn't a dog, my favorite animal. So absolutely, penguin is a good one. But Colin, let's go to you.
Hey, good to be back. My name's Colin. If I had to choose one animal to be, probably be an eagle.
Okay.
And then my favorite station on Spotify, probably Best of the 90s.
Ooh, good one. Can't go wrong with 90s music on that
No.
one, for sure. That is definitely, I mean, we'll get to my answer here in a minute, but I want to get the last guest here, Jordan.
As Mike said, my name is Jordan. If I could be any animal, I would be an orca. And as far as Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, I'm not really a station guy. I'm an album guy. And lately, I've just been going through the alphabet, picking different artists every day with a different letter of the alphabet. So that's what I usually do. It's a unique way to approach music, I realize. But like today, I listened to Velvet Revolver, and tomorrow I'll listen to something with W, maybe Wu-Tang Clan. I don't know.
I appreciate that more than people that listen to just a certain station that get just that genre of music. No offense, Colin, because I'm going to tell you my answer to that here in a second. But that I never thought of that. I think that's why that, blows my mind a little bit, that you just go by the letter of the alphabet. That's a phenomenal way, and it opens you up to a lot of new music just based off the letter.
Yeah, real quick, sorry.
Good.
This last week I've been listening to rock bands, like rock bands from the 90s, early 2000s, from what I grew up with. So I started with, I want to say like Audio Slave. B was Breaking Benjamin. Or no, it was Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, Chevelle, and just going down the list.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. I do listen to Sirius XM a lot. My truck, the AM FM radio, just completely decided it was not going to work anymore. So the Sirius XM was the only thing that I have. Yeah, I have a beater truck. I love it. It gets me from point A to point B, but she's a lot of work. She needs a little TLC. But I listen to 90s on 9. That is like the station that is permanently on my Sirius XM. And I love it. It's a lot of, and I think back and I sing every song because I'm normally by myself when I'm in my truck. And it always blows my mind that songs I haven't heard for decades that I still know every word to, and I'm still singing along I listen to it every day. But my favorite animal, that's not a dog. I got to go with Andrea. Penguins are definitely my favorite animal. My wife and I both love penguins. They mate for life, and that's a good thing that we like to go by. And they always have a tuxedo on. I mean, how can you not love somebody who is properly dressed at all points in time? Let's be classy a little bit. And yeah, penguins are definitely up there on the list for me. We're not here to talk about those animals. We are here to talk about all things puppy related. I wanted to have my dog on here. She is a Husky, and she doesn't do anything she doesn't want to do. So she's not around me for the first time ever when I'm recording. So hopefully she'll come by. I'll try to get her on here as much as I can. I will be showing pictures if you were watching this on my Patreon. I will have other pictures of puppies and former dogs of mine on there too as well. Want to show off as many pooches as I can. There's a lot of peas in this episode. I just realized that. But let's get right into it. And Colin, let's start with you. Do you own a dog? And if so, how many and what are their names?
Yeah, so I have one dog. His name is Hank. He's named after Hank Williams Jr., my wife and I's one of our favorite artists. So That's his namesake, and he is a black lab.
Okay. All right. Andrea, what about you?
So I have two dogs. I have a pit bull mix, and his name is Yeti. And then I have a Bernese Mountain Dog, and her name is Bailey.
Bernese Mountain. I love Bernese Mountain Dogs. Company I worked for during COVID, a RV company. I won't say the name on here, even though I should, because they did me dirty. But they had a Bernese Mountain Dog. His name was Benny. He was the company dog. He just kind of went up and greeted customers and was awesome. But yeah, I love Bernese Mountain Dogs. They're awesome. But Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, so my girlfriend and I, we have two dogs. We have a Havanese named Madeline, who we affectionately call Shmoo. And we have a mini poodle named Frankie that we rescued about a year ago. And we affectionately call him Deeds or Dee. We don't know where these nicknames came from, but that's what we call them.
Okay. As I said before, I have a husky. Her name is Khaleesi because she has ice blue eyes, and she is from Game of Thrones, and she is the queen and mother of dragons because of her eyes. We call her Callie, Cowbell, Khaleesi Grace, because she is not the most graceful of dogs. I've never seen a clumsier dog in my life. She will trip over her own 2 feet. Love her to death. She's a red husky, and she doesn't do anything she doesn't want to do. We had another dog. We actually, a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago now, we did have to put down, unfortunately. His name was Spencer. He was a pug. He was the best dog I have ever owned. He never answered to Spencer. That was his actual name. He answered to Booger. And that was from my wife's grandmother, who, because he would always snot him with his pug snorts, and that named him Booger, and that was the only thing he answered to. He was the best dog in the world, and unfortunately, we miss him every day, but we're not going to be as sad as that. But he was my first dog that I had. My wife had him for 16 years. He was around for 9 years that I was with my wife. So that I've been with my wife. So yeah, we're going to move on from that because we're not going to bring that up. But Jordan, what's the best dog breed in your opinion?
I've always been partial to German Shepherds. Growing up, I had a German Shepherd. His name was Rolly. We had him until I was about 7 years old, but unfortunately, we couldn't keep him. We had to give him away because we lived in a small confined space and he loved to run. But he was a smart dog, man. Like my mom always talks about how smart he was. We would leave him alone and he would go if he had to go at all, he would go into the bathtub. So he would go, he would do his business in the bathtub. So it always made cleanup really easy. He was a smart dog. He just loved to run, and we couldn't give him that best life he needed, a good boy needed. So my mom made the tough decision when I was 7 or 8 to give him to a family friend who had a lot of land. So, but I've always been partial to German Shepherds. Most recently, the American Akita has caught my fascination. I love reading about American Akitas. And then they just fascinate me, because I was I was reading something about pit bulls, and how the lies that pit bulls are and so I was reading about it, and the dog that came up more was the American Akita as more of a quote unquote threat. And then I was just reading about their personality and how an American Akita is not for a first time dog owner. Is that they have a lot of they have a lot of unique features or unique characteristics of personalities that one if you're just learning to train a dog or just getting a dog, maybe an Akita is not the right one for you. So yeah, Shepherds or Akitas as of late, but I love all dogs.
Yeah, I do too. Akitas are great. My wife at her work actually has a frequent customer who brings in 2 Akitas every day, Thor and Loki. And they are her buddies. They get so excited when they see her in there. It is awesome. And these dogs are bigger than my wife, and it makes me giggle every time I see them. But yeah, when I'm in there and I see them, the Akitas are awesome for sure. Andrea, let's go to you.
So, I've had quite a few different dog breeds throughout my life. The Bernese Mountain Dog that I have now, I stumbled across, and I like in a weird way, but I feel like she's a great family dog. But I very much favor pit bulls. I do. My brother had 3 at one time. I have one I like to rescue. And when you like to rescue, if you go to any general pound that's not breed specific, you're probably going to get a pit bull. But I think when raised right, any dog can be great, but pit bulls are awesome. He's a great protector. He's a great lover. He's strong, but that can be beneficial depending on what you're trying to use a dog for.
Right.
I think you can teach any dog anything, but he's super good with like the kids. My niece and my nephew can just lounge on him, and he loves it. And yeah, pit bulls I think are great. They can be great family dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say this too, since you mentioned rescuing dogs. I'm a big supporter in rescuing dogs. I understand breeders and that there's a market for that, but we've always rescued dogs in the Bono household. And our current, yep, I thought she was next to me. She's not. Current Husky, she was actually a puppy mill dog. So it was a lot of work at the beginning with her because she has a very strong, what's the word I'm looking for? Like she doesn't like men a lot when she first meets them. She gets very protective when she meets them. Even certain times, like if I walk in the house and I'm wearing a hat like I normally do and my sunglasses, like she doesn't recognize me at first, and she gets into that protective mode, especially if my wife or son are home. But funny story, when we went to get her, we drove 2 hours to get this dog. I've always wanted a Husky. My wife knows. I say my spirit animal is a wolf, and I love wolves. And that's why I wanted a Husky, because they resemble them. And so that was my birthday present during COVID back in March of 2020. So we drove 2 hours to get her. And the shelter that we went to, I don't know this to be certain. So if they're listening, I apologize if this is wrong. But also, screw you for trying to screw me out of my dog. She said that, okay, well, she doesn't like men. She doesn't like children. She's very aggressive if a man's wearing a hat or sunglasses. I was wearing a hat and sunglasses when this woman told me this, and I had my son with me at the time. And I was like, well, I drove 2 hours to see this dog. I'm going to at least take a look at this dog if you could bring her out. She ran up to us. She instantly went right to my son, started licking his face, and went right to me next, started licking my face. I was like, yeah, you can write the paperwork up. This is my dog. Like, there's no other thing no, this is my dog. And we've had her for 4 years, and I love her to death, but she's been a pain in my ass ever since because she likes my wife and son more than me, and she's my dog. So yeah, there's there's that too as well. She listens to my wife and son more than she listens to me. But that's just the stubborn Husky in her. But Colin, what about you? Best dog breed?
Yeah, so I've always been partial to Labradors. I just like the temperament. I like how loyal they are. If my wife wasn't in the picture to call the shots, I would definitely have a trifecta and get a yellow, black, and chocolate all at the same. But we have a bunch of labs in the family, so it's kind of been a family dog breed. So I've always grown up around them and really just had a connection with them. So carried that on in our own household.
I get it. My dad is not a big dog or cat person or animal in general. Excuse me. But so I never grew up with animals, but my grandmother had an English bulldog growing up that I always said was my dog. His name was Joker. He was a big old ball of fat and meat and just lovable and loved to cuddle. Um, I'm partial to bulldogs because I kind of grew up with one being at my grandmother's a lot. But definitely Huskies are up there for me too as well. Pugs as well. My wife and I are finally actually getting to the point now where we're wanting another dog, and we're wanting, I guess, kind of a smaller, I guess you could say, dog to kind of counterbalance the massive 100-pound husky that I have. But we're thinking we're going to go bulldog. We don't think we can go pug again. And bulldogs, yeah, they have a lot of health issues because of their short snoot and everything like that. But they're great dogs. They're super energetic, and I watch on it's TikTok all day sometimes for me when I'm off. And there's this one, and he hates garbage cans, and he knocks over everybody's garbage can when he is walking. Like, he will just run up to it and just bulldoze it. And I know you could probably hear her in the background. My wife loves it too. She's laughing already, just me talking about it. We sit for hours and watch this dog just hate garbage cans. He just runs up to him and knocks him over. It's so funny to me. And Andrea, to your point, pit bulls, I kind of always had a liking for them. I love how they're bigger, they're muscular. They have that stigma though that they're bad dogs, and I'm of the mindset there's no bad dogs, there's bad dog owners, and that is what I always I'll take that to my grave, because I've been around people who've had pit bulls, and these things are the most lovable, cuddly, playful things you can ever be, but they know when it's time to be protective. And if you train them right, any dog is a phenomenal dog. And I've always wanted to raise that pit bull, mainly because, the comedian in me comes out. And I just want to see people move across the street as I'm walking my pit bull down one side of the street. That's the main reason. I'm not going to lie to you here. Like, she could be the most he could be the most lovable dog in the world, but just people that have that stigma against pit bulls that see it and are like, nope, I need to cross the street. That's a mean dog. And they cross the street. I'd feel like a king for one. And that's just a comedian in me to get a laugh for myself. I'm in the business of making other people laugh. I need to find ways to make myself laugh too as well. Andrea, with you having a pit bull breed, do you get that a lot? Like when you're walking your dog?
I do sometimes, but there's been times where like people will go across the street, even if I just have my Bernese. And I think it's just like, okay, I don't know how any dog is going to react anymore. So I think people do it naturally just to protect themselves. But there was a time where I had Yeti in the dog park, and we were the only people in there, only dog in there. And some woman like came up to the fence and she was like, "Is your dog nice? Like, I want to bring mine in." And I'm like, "No, I just brought him to the dog park just to fight with other dogs." Like, that's not what I said. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, of course he's nice. Like, I wouldn't bring him in an area where other dogs are going to be if he wasn't, So there's definitely a lot of people that question it. Actually, another incident when I was going to get Bailey, somebody bought her to breed her. So somebody bought her from, a breeder. They were going to breed her themselves, and then they decided not to. And because I had a pit bull, she didn't want to give me Bailey. She was like, "I just can't imagine like this dog going to your house and your dog latching on." And I'm like, "But you don't know my dog. Like, you haven't met them, like anything like that." So I brought Yeti over, and he met the girl and saw like, I like snapped my fingers and told him to sit. And she was like, "Oh my God, he's so well trained. You can have Bailey. He's wonderful." Yeah. I'm like, that's all it took. Like, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of judgment with it.
Yeah. I don't understand the judgment with any dog. Like, even, Huskies, the sheer size. I think the bigger the dog, the worse the stigma. that people have against them. Like, oh, it's big, it's got to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, I think like it's an intimidating, like the way, if it looks intimidating, right? Like you want to look at an Irish Shepherd, which is a massive dog, and go, that dog's vicious, and it's going to maul a child, or it's going to kill another dog. Nobody would look at an Irish Shepherd and think that. And then it's also the way dogs are portrayed, I think, in media, movies, Dobermans, Rottweilers. You see those on, Disney movies, like, right, like Oliver, like this is weird, but Oliver and Company is like one that comes to mind. They had 2 Dobermans in that movie, and those Dobermans are mean. And as a kid, you look at Dobermans and you go, oh, those are mean dogs, because I see them as mean on the TV screen. And it's like, I think people have a hard time like separating. Like one of my good friends, they have a massive Rottweiler named Thor. And you see, I mean, if you don't know him, you don't know them, and you see this massive Rottweiler in a side yard, you're kind of like, ooh, but couldn't be a more lovable dog. In fact, too loving. Like, just like wants to be in your lap, constantly licking. Like, it's like to the point of annoyance. Like, get out of my face, man. But yeah, I just think that, like, people see big breeds, or they read a news story and then they go, okay, in my head, pit bull bad. But it's like, my cousin, I was guilty of this too. My cousin years ago adopted a pit bull. And this poor dog was used for like dog fighting, and in my head, I was like, oh, is he going to be nice? Is it, I got attacked by a dog as a kid. So I've always kind of like, I'm kind of getting over that trauma of being attacked by a dog still to this day, And so you see this pit bull, and then you kind of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think all shelters do this, but a lot of shelters, they test, they'll test a dog for how aggressive it is. Is it food aggressive? Is it toy aggressive? And so it went through my head, and I was like, oh, this fear is irrational, because Bo went through all of these tests, and he was the best dog. He was like my cousin's ride or die. He went everywhere with them. And so like when my cousin had to put Bo down, unfortunately, like that was really heavy on, right, to like lose your best friend, because Bo was with him in his barbershop, or if he would go on the road. So it's like, it's just getting that out of your head that, that this certain breed is bad because of how it's portrayed in media or the news or on TV, and just getting that out of your head, and just realizing that like it's properly training your animal and knowing how to speak the language of a dog, and understanding your breed, that like, they have certain tendencies, or what they were bred for. Right. Like, absolutely. I didn't know this, is that like not pit bulls, poodles, they were trained for hunting, not like go out and kill something, but more like retrieving. So we had gotten Frankie a trainer a year ago. And he was like, oh yeah, like, we're like, he's always eating goose poop. He's always eating squirrel poop. It's annoying. And he's like, oh, he's hunting. He's looking for something. And it's like, you can break him of that, but he's like, he's hunting. And then he's like, if his paw is up, it means he's hunting. Or, like certain characteristics. If one paw's up, he doesn't know what he doesn't know what you want to do. He's confused. But if another paw's up, he's hunting. So it's interesting to like learn that stuff.
Yeah, I had to learn a lot with my Husky, because she doesn't have the traditional I'm going to talk your ear off Husky speak, where they're just vocal and they whine, and you see them all over the internet where they're screaming and they're talking back to you, because they told us we didn't believe it. We still don't know. We haven't got it done yet. But we want to have a DNA test done, because they said she was mixed with something else. And if you look at her, she looks like a full-bred Husky. Like, there's no doubt about it. She has the red coloring, the curly, poofy tail, the big satellite ears that we call them, her satellites, when they're straight up and down. But we were looking into it, and just some of her vocal tones, she growls and like grumbles, I would say. And we looked into it, and wolves breeds, that's how they communicate. They don't bark. They don't have that yippy kind of husky talk. They just grumble, and it sounds like an aggressive growl. And it took a while for us to be like, well, maybe she has a little bit of wolf in her. Like that's what they meant when they said she was mixed with something else, but they didn't know what it was because I even made the joke when they said, "Oh, she's mixed with something else." I said, "What? Another husky? Like she looks like a full-bred husky. Like there's no doubt in my mind that this is a husky." Walking by me now, but yeah. So we want to get the DNA test done just to see if our theory is right, because even when I'm playing with her and we know she's playing because her tail's wagging, her ears are up, and she's smiling from ear to ear, and she grumbled, and like my sister and niece were over before Halloween, and we had our annual pumpkin carving, and I was playing with her, she was starting to grumble. My sister kind of looked at me. I was like, "Oh, no, it's fine. Like that's how she talks. She doesn't have the typical husky talk. She has like a wolf rumble growl type of vocal tone." And we've learned to learn, like, okay, if her tail's down and it's tucked, she's being aggressive and like she's protective. If her tail's up and her ears are up, like she's playing. That's just how she talks. And every dog has their own vocal tone here. But Colin, let's go to you, and I really want to know the answer to these questions for you guys. And that's, do you think is the most overrated dog breed?
I'd have to say doodle mixes. Yeah. I think a lot of people default to those because they're hypoallergenic, and I've seen doodles that were amazing dogs, and I've seen doodles that were not so great dogs. And I think it all has to do with if you're prepared to deal with the temperament of those. But I feel like a lot of people these days are kind of going after the doodle mixes. So,
okay, Andrea, what about you?
I think French bulldogs, like bulldogs are cool and whatnot, but like the little Frenchies that, I don't know.
Your dog comes in the frame.
But yeah, my dog pulled my hand back, so I would pet her. Like I don't know. I feel like everybody's obsessed with French bulldogs. I'm calling my sister-in-law out here, but like she's obsessed with French bulldogs. She wants one so bad, and she's a rescue person too. But she's like, I will buy a $3,000 purebred French bulldog because I love the way they look. I just think they're kind of overrated. There's nothing like great about the breed. It's a small dog. It's not like it's just like any other small dog. Just get any other small dog.
Okay. Jordan, what about you?
I don't know if I would say it. Like, I would say doodles have become the most popular. Definitely for all of the reasons Colin listed, hypoallergenic. I just think that, at the end of the day, just like you got to know the dog you're getting and what you're getting that dog for, and I think like for a family dog, maybe the doodles are super popular for whatever reason. They don't shed. It's a lot, shedding can be a lot of maintenance. So yeah, I guess maybe doodle. Golden retrievers are also, great dogs, but I always sometimes feel like maybe they're a little overrated as well. But I like not to be disparaging against any breed. I think they're all great, as long as you got the right training and, the right temperament for them. Because like, I have a friend who has a hound dog. They have a hound dog and some weird, we don't know what she is, but they're both play. And like 4 years ago, I was house sitting for them and that's all they wanted to do. And I just wanted to chill, man. I just like, and I tricked myself into believing I was a cat person. I was like, you know what? I've discovered that I'm a cat person. And then I have my dogs now and I'm like, no, I like dogs. Dogs are great. So yeah, I just think, temperament is everything, and like a dog that suits you. But yeah, I think like back to the original question, I think that like golden retrievers can be a little overrated, golden doodles especially, but they're all great.
I'm gonna take a page out of Andrea's answer here with the small dog breed, Chihuahuas.
Ooh.
Chihuahuas are the worst. I've never met a Chihuahua that was nice. They were always like had this like little man or little woman complex where they're like, I'm freaking tough. Like I'll fight you right now. Like,
or they're always shaking. They're always constantly shaking.
they're weird. They look like rats. I'll say it. I'll say it, and I'll take it to my grave. They look like rats, and they're angry all the time. Chihuahuas for me, I would never own a Chihuahua. I would never own a Chihuahua for that reason. Because I like to rough house with my dogs. I do. I play and we play rough, but she knows. My Khaleesi Grace, where are you at? She's not coming. I keep trying. She's not gonna come over here. But she knows when playtime is over and it's time to be calm. Well, there you are. Hi. Oh. How you doing? Okay, sorry. I can't not pet my dog whenever she walks by me. But yeah, for me, it's Chihuahuas. And Jordan, let's stay with you here. There's a lot of good options for this one. But what's the best movie about a dog or dogs?
I'm partial to All Dogs Go to Heaven. Does that count? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Even though it's a cartoon, it's a childhood staple and classic. I feel like you can't not mention Homeward Bound either.
Oh.
Although it does have Sassy the cat, but Shadow and Chance, and that second one especially, the one with where they go to San Francisco. Those are like the two that really stick out in my head. And then I guess a trifecta, Beethoven. Beethoven was always great.
Just try to hit people right in the feels with those three.
Nostalgia,
Jordan,
like a lot of nostalgia.
Those were great movies, but those are movies like, you know what? I need a good cry today. I think I'm going to watch these movies. Those are one of those. But Andrea, what about you?
For some reason, like off the top of my head, I can't think of a lot of movies that are like solely about dogs right now outside of Marley and Me and Beethoven. And Marley and Me is not a good dog movie. Like it's a good movie, but it's sad. So
yeah,
I guess I'd have to say like Beethoven, but it's not a dog movie, but one of the best dogs like in a movie is Little Rascals.
Oh yeah.
Petey.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not about a dog, but it's a good dog in a movie.
Yep.
Colin, what about you?
Yeah, so I have to agree with Jordan. I grew up watching Homeward Bound. That was on the TV a lot when I was a kid. So, and I'm man enough to admit that I still get choked up at the end of that movie. So,
if you don't, you're a sociopath. Let's just get that out there.
Yeah. So that one definitely that would have to be my pick.
Okay, those are great movies, but I feel like we're missing, a good genre movie, and I know they're not realistic, but Air Bud.
Oh,
like that's he can play every sport. Like
imagine
they're just running out of sports for him to be good at.
Imagine being like the kid who lost your spot on the roster to a golden retriever.
That probably would have been me. I always said I'd make a better coach than I would have an athlete, especially in those sports. But yeah, Air Bud is up there for me. I mean, not to say like I grew up watching Homeward Bound and Beethoven, and the All Dogs Go to Heaven. Those are great movies. But
My Dog Skip was also like, if we're like staying out of the realm of like cartoons, My Dog Skip was really, really good. Young Frankie Muniz is in that, and then it also is it's a crier at the end. I think any dog movie is kind of a crier, where at the end of the movie of My Dog Skip, no spoilers, he has such a great line about Skip. It's like it always got me as like a 12-year-old kid. I was like crying, do it like this, like I'm not crying. It's okay, it's fine.
Well, so, I'm not crying. You're crying. You shut up. Like I'm not. No. Yeah. Absolutely. Jordan, to stay with you on this one, and this was Vinny's question. I forgot about this one when we were coming up with the questions list for this one. But if you could be a dog, which dog breed would you be, and what would your name be?
I think I'd probably stick with German Shepherd, and I think I'd go with the name Dozer. just off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'd be Dozer.
Okay. Not mad at that answer at all. Andrea, what about you?
I don't know. I want to say that I would want to be a Bernese Mountain Dog, even though I favor my pit bull. Like Bailey is just so like ditzy and just like out there, and just because she's a dog, like she can get away with it. Like she can just do whatever she wants, and it's cute and she's fluffy, and so I don't know. I guess I would probably be a Bernese Mountain Dog, and I don't know a name. That's a hard one. It's a hard question to come off the top of your head.
I feel
I'll say this. I'll say this because I feel strongly about this.
okay.
Whatever my name would be, it would not be a human name. I'm not judging anybody. I'm not judging anybody. But the only reason, this is a funny story, the only reason my dog's name is Bailey is because when I got her, her name was Allie, and that was my ex's name. So we couldn't have Allie.
Yeah. That.
So we picked something that sounded like it. So like Allie, Bailey,
Okay.
you know, it kind of like has the same ending to it. So her name is Bailey May. But if we got her as a puppy, it would not have been a human name.
I gotcha. I don't understand some people that name their dogs like this is Jeff. Like, you know, like I never understood that. Like, give it a cool name. I mean, and I get, you know, mine's name's Khaleesi, but you know, that's not a human name per se. She's off of Game of Thrones.
And it was a title.
And it was a title. She's the mother of dragons, and it's only because she has these ice blue eyes that just look deep into your soul.
Yeah, that's not like a common human name. Like,
well, I mean, Khaleesi wasn't even.
And they're like, "This is Luke," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's my nephew's name." Like,
yeah. Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh no, I was gonna say, and Khaleesi was just like her title with the Dothraki. Her name was Daenerys, so. Yeah, like I was just like, not now. Now it's turning into a Game of Thrones podcast, but
no, we're fine. I've only seen like the first season of Game of Thrones.
And dude, you got to watch up to like season 5 and then dip out.
Yeah, it was. Our son was young at the time. My wife has like the entire collection on DVD. It's just like, yeah, this is not something we can watch with like a 7-year-old walking around the house. So we had to pick and choose like times when we could watch it, and then just, you know, life happens. But Colin, what about you?
Yeah, so I guess I would either want to be an Irish Wolfhound or an Irish Setter. And if I had to pick a name, I think I would want it to be Ruger.
Ruger. Okay. Not a bad one. This is going to sound weird because I've been like hyping up Huskies and everything like that since, you know, I own one and they look like wolves and one of my favorite animals next to penguins. But I'd have to say lately, like when I'm like scrolling through like TikTok or Reels on Facebook or Instagram, cane corsos have been coming up a lot for me, and they're kind of an Italian breed too as well, with the being a cane corso. I'd have to go with them because I've never been that big, bulky, like muscular guy. Like I graduated high school at 6'5", 155 pounds. Like I'm not like gonna be like out bench pressing or curling anybody. Like I've never been that guy. And I feel like those dogs just have that muscular look that it would give me. And I would have to call myself Diesel. Like, you know, that's just, you know, goes with the big breed, and I'd have to pick a big breed. Yeah, I couldn't go with anything. And yeah. And I heard you laugh back there when I said about my weight, by the way. Yeah, my wife in the background, she acts like she doesn't listen to the show, but she giggles and definitely, you know, chimes in when she can. And she's the comic relief a lot of the time. I love how we're doing a show about dogs, and now my cats are acting up. And now Khaleesi's chasing the cat. So this is just going off the rails as typical Ride Home Rants show does. Jordan, let's go with you. Do you miss when your dog was a puppy?
It's been so long since I've had a dog in the puppy stage. Frankie would have been the closest, which, by the way, about human names and dogs, he was listed as Frankie on the adoption site. And then we got there and we're like, "Hi, Frankie." And the lady who was fostering was like, "Oh, he doesn't really have a name." And we're like, "Well, we've grown accustomed to calling him Frankie, so his name's Frankie." And then Madeline, I met Madeline when my girlfriend was just like my girlfriend had her for like a year or two. So, but her original name was Misty, and my girlfriend was like, "Absolutely not. We're not going to call her Misty." So Madeline it was. Frank was probably the closest I've had to a puppy in a long time. He was about a year old when we adopted him, so he still was very much in the puppy phase, and he's 2 now, so he likes to run around and play. But I think like the last time I had a puppy was my sister's dog, who was a Pomeranian named Miley. Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, very big at the time when we got Miley. I do miss the puppy stage in certain aspects. Definitely don't miss the leaving your dog at home, a puppy at home, and then coming home to surprises.
Yeah.
But puppies are cute, and then you get to watch them grow, and it's like it makes you feel like, I don't know, it makes you feel real good, I guess.
I gotta say, Huskies never grow out of the puppy phase. Khaleesi is, as you can hear my wife yelling at her now in the background, for doing something she's not supposed to do. And she knows she's not supposed to do it, but she does it anyways. She's 4 now because we got her when she was just about 1. And yeah, the only thing is she's just gotten bigger. And she wasn't even that little when we got her. And I didn't realize how fat how fat my dog was getting. And I was just scrolling through like my memories on Facebook, and I just so happened to come across an old picture from 4 years ago of my husky. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, she's put on a few pounds since we've gotten her. But I wouldn't have her any other way. I'm of the belief that your animals should be fat and happy at all times, no matter what. I have a 35-pound cat. So, yeah, he is not 30. He is 35 fucking pounds. Yeah, it's my wife's cat that she came with when I met her. His name's Kitten. It's not about cats right now, but yeah, he's 35 pounds. He's a big boy, for sure. But we love him to death. Anyways, Andrea, do you miss when your dog's being puppies? Get out here.
I didn't get to see the puppy phase too much because they were both about a year old when I got them. So I got like the clumsiness of the puppy phase still, where they weren't like super coordinated, but I didn't get to see them small. So I definitely missed that. Anytime I feel like I would want a puppy, I foster for a local rescue with no intentions on keeping them. But whenever I have a puppy, I'm like, yeah, I never want a puppy.
Yeah.
And then I'm always like, oh, they're cute. That would be a really good idea. And then I foster one and I'm like, wow, this is terrible waking up throughout the night. So I wish I could have seen my dogs as a puppy, but I don't know if I would have missed it.
Yeah, I get that. We had one of my son's friends. He had a couple of puppies, like fresh out puppies, and yeah, it's like, no, thank you. I don't miss that phase at all. Just the constant. They'll sleep for like an hour, then they're up, and then they want to play, and then they're past eating, getting the fat belly. I would miss seeing that, just getting the fat belly after they eat like 2 morsels of food and then passing out. So yeah, I mean, I would miss that part of it, but the neediness and that I wouldn't miss that in the slightest. But Colin, what about you?
I wouldn't say I necessarily miss it. Every once in a while, if we go through like old photos, you get a little bit nostalgic, I think. But Hank's 4 now, and he's just like my buddy. He's always excited when I come home from work, and He's pretty self-sufficient now. He's just like a part of life now. And, the older he gets, the smarter and the wiser he gets. And, I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed the puppy phase, but I enjoyed the middle-aged teenage years of his life too. So, yeah.
Yeah. You gave a good point there. Like I said, we got her when she was just about 1 year old. And, she was clumsy. She was kind of had that her ears were too big for her head type of look, which they flopped when she ran, which they still do. But now she's kind of into that like teenage. I kind of want to sleep, but like I still want to be active stage. So like she'll come up on the couch if I'm relaxing, and she is my buddy. When I'm relaxing on the couch, she'll come up and she'll snuggle up into me. We'll watch Sports Center in the morning. That's like she now knows like my routine, and she's got onto my routine in the morning. Like I wake up, I start my pot of coffee, use the bathroom, and then I come back, and Sports Center goes on, and my feet go up on the couch, and she jumps up and lays on the leg rest, and I swear she is like paying attention to what is happening, because like there'll be some controversial play or something like that, and she'll look back and be like, "What do you think of that, Dad?" Like,
Yeah,
we have those conversations in the morning.
She knows how to beat the Tampa too, which is great.
She really does. But like, yeah, like the show Bad Call, she'll look like, what do you think that was kind of bullshit, wasn't it, Dad? Like she has, and I've never been able to look at a dog and know exactly what she's thinking. And I look at my dog and I was like, I know you're thinking about being bad and you shouldn't do that right now. Like, or you could just tell like what's going on in their head. And like, I wish, oh my God, what movie? It's a cartoon, but the dog has a collar on where you can hear is it Up? Where
Up, I think.
Up? Is that Up?
Squirrel.
Yeah. Yeah, where it has the collar on where you can actually hear what he's thinking. I wish sometimes I could have that so it could actually verbalize so I could know I'm right. But there's a lot of times like she's a mama's girl through and through. She loves my wife more than anything in this world. And if we're sitting on the couch together, like she'll just look at me like, "You don't talk to me, peasant. Mama's here right now, and go away. I don't need you right now. I have mom." So, but there's other times when it's just me and her, and like I said, we're watching Sports Center or a game or something, and we're bouncing ideas off of each other, which is never good in my opinion when I'm bouncing ideas off of a dog for a game, but it happens. We're going to round out the show with this because we are running out of time. Jordan, we'll start with you, and it's for all the listeners out there who are thinking about buying a dog. What advice would you give them?
Buying a dog or adopting? I would say
yes, yeah, either one.
Yeah, I would say adopt. I mean, I would say go meet those dogs, make sure that they're right for you. Don't be afraid to go to an animal shelter. There are a lot of great animals that need a home. But make sure that you're doing your research on the dog that you're getting, right? Like the bios are great. And set up a meeting, but know a little bit about that breed. Like if you're getting, say, a Great Dane, maybe, or a Chihuahua, or a poodle. Like know what you're getting, know what the breed's characteristics are, what they were bred for, what they do. Don't be afraid to look into training if you don't know and you want and you need help, or you've never had a dog before. Training there are a lot of great resources. There are a lot of great trainers. We used a trainer who we learned a lot from, and he was great. And so I would just say, go in, if you want an animal, if you want a dog, go in knowing about that dog and knowing its like I said, like its characteristics, what it's about, know its history. And then if you're struggling, don't be afraid to consider, the option of training and learning how, because like we got training for Frankie, and now we know so much more about how dogs interact with each other and the signs of dogs. And it's valuable information because, you're probably going to own more dogs through your life, and you can take that information and you can use it for the next one. Or if you want to bring another one in to your family, you can use that as a way to learn about the dog and bond with the dog as well.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal advice. Andrea, what about you?
My only piece of advice is do it. Get 1 dog, get 2 dogs, get 10 dogs. No, but I mean, I definitely think going in knowing that it's going to be it's going to be hard work, but I think it's worth it. If you put the time into it when they're young or when you first get them, to create them into being the dog that is going to be fitting for you, then do it. Like, don't worry about like, what am I going to do when I go on vacation? People want to watch dogs. There's options. Somebody will watch your dog, but I think, the good always outweighs the bad. Like, if I come home, like my dogs know if I've had a bad day. Like if I'm crying, my dogs come and they lick the tears off my face. Like dogs just know. So I think that, of course there's going to be training, they might go to the bathroom on the floor, or it's nothing different than what your kids probably did growing up. So if you kind of look at it like that, depends on your perspective, but the good will always outweigh the bad with a dog, I think.
Absolutely. Colin, round us out here.
I think the biggest thing is just understanding the level of commitment that you're making whenever you're thinking about getting into dog ownership specifically, but any pet ownership really. I think it's good to kind of at least have a rough idea of what exactly you're getting yourself into. Because I think one of the worst things in the world is when the novelty of pet ownership wears off and people decide that they're no longer interested, and that's how you end up with dogs in shelters. So I think just kind of understanding what you're committing to from the get-go is probably a good starting point.
That's solid advice. Mine, I would say, adopt, don't buy. I know there's breeders out there that would argue against that. I mean, obviously, if you want a full bred dog and you have a specific dog in mind, by all means, go get the dog, but adopt. There's so many good dogs in shelters that need good homes. I've adopted every animal that I own, and I own 4 cats and a husky. So yes, I sound like I'm a cat person per se. My dog's sneezing, getting ready to end the show next to here. But yeah, I've adopted every animal I own, and it's so rewarding just to see the transition from them being in a shelter to coming home to a good life. And Andrea, I will echo your point. Your dogs know when you're in a good mood, as Colin's is looking him dead into his soul as we're ending here. But they know when you're in a good mood. They know when you want to play. They know when you've had a bad day. Mine know when I'm getting sick or when my wife is getting sick or anything like that. And they do what they can and lick the sickness or the tears or the anger right out of you. And it's awesome. And if you don't like dogs because of whatever reason, I don't want to be your friend anyways, because dogs are awesome and they make life better. But that is actually going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I'm so happy we got to do a dog and puppy show. I've been waiting to do this one. I want to thank my panel of guests, Colin, Andrea, and Jordan, for coming on and talking about their dogs and all things about dogs and puppies. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me. and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.